Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at the top story we are tracking for you. Israel has launched airstrikes against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The airstrikes come after Tel Aviv vowed retaliation for a barrage of cross-border rockets fired from Lebanon, which it blamed on Palestinian groups. Tensions have soared between Israel and Palestinians during the Jewish Passover and the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Israeli military is also targeting areas in Lebanon. Now, violent explosions were heard in the southern part of the country. The latest flare-up of violence comes after Israeli police clashed with Palestinians inside Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque on Wednesday. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is Islam's third holiest site. Remember, the holy Muslim site is built on top of what Jews call the Temple Mount, Judaism's holiest site. On Thursday, Israel's army said that 34 rockets had been fired from Lebanese territory. It marked the largest escalation along the frontier since Israel and Hezbollah fought a 34-day war in 2006. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that Israel's enemies would pay the price for any act of aggression.
אין לנו שום עניין לשנות את הסטטוס קוו בהר הבית. אנחנו קוראים להרגעת הרוחות, ואנחנו נפעל בתקיפות נגד קיצונים שנוקטים שם אלימות. באשר לתוקפנות עלינו מהזירות השונות, אנחנו נכה באויבינו, והם ישלמו מחיר על כל מעשה תוקפנות. אויבינו יגלו שוב שברגעי מבחן, אזרחי ישראל עומדים מאוחדים ומלוכדים, ומגבים את הפעולות של צה"ל ושל שאר זרועות הביטחון, כדי להגן על מדינתנו ואזרחינו.
In a statement, the Israeli army said it had hit 2 tunnels and 2 weapon manufacturing sites belonging to Hamas. Now, Hamas has said that Israel was responsible for aggression and its consequences and called for all Palestinian groups to unite. The Israeli army said its air defense systems intercepted 25 of the rockets fired and 5 landed in Israeli territory. An army spokesperson blamed Palestinian groups for the attack. Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najim Mikati had said that he rejected any escalation from his country after the rocket attack. The UN interim force in Lebanon, which patrols the border area between the two countries, urged restraint. Here's what the spokesperson for the United Nations chief said.
Given the extreme seriousness of the situation, we urge restraint and we urge the parties to avoid any further escalation.
On Wednesday, Israeli riot police stormed the prayer hall of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in a pre-dawn raid. Israeli police said that the raid aimed to dislodge law-breaking youths and masked agitators who had barricaded themselves inside. The US said it recognized Israel's legitimate right to defend itself against all forms of aggression.
We condemn the launch of rockets from Lebanon and Gaza at Israel. Our commitment to Israel's security is ironclad, and we recognize Israel's legitimate right to defend itself against all forms of aggression.
France condemned what it called indiscriminate rocket fire targeting Israeli territory from Gaza and southern Lebanon. Lebanon's Iran-backed armed movement Hezbollah had warned earlier that it would support all measures that the Palestinian groups may take against Israel after the clashes. The Lebanese group has close ties with Hamas, which rules Gaza. It also has close ties with the Islamic Jihad group, which is also based in the coastal enclave. The last rocket fired from Lebanon into Israel was in April of 2022. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by our correspondent Jody Cohen live from Ramadan. Hello to you, Jody. What can you tell us about what's happening on the ground across Israel?
Hi, Alison. Yes, so I am outside a public bomb shelter, and that's because we're seeing action on 3 fronts across the country. So firstly, in northern Israel, 34 rockets were fired from Lebanon into northern Israeli towns on Thursday. The IDF has said that Hamas is behind the rocket barrage. And as you said, the Lebanese Prime Minister Mikati said that he's against any military conflict from Lebanese territory. So the Israeli army has responded, targeting only Hamas sites in Lebanon. Now, in southern Israel, the IDF says that 44 rockets were launched from Gaza into southern Israeli towns overnight. Remember, there were 16 on Wednesday. So the Air Force has struck 10 Hamas targets in the latest, such as underground weapons production sites in Gaza in return, and told residents in Gaza to stay inside in order to minimize civilian casualties, and told residents in southern Israel to stay close to bomb shelters because they expect more rocket attacks. Then in central Israel, there was a shooting near Jerusalem last night. Tensions are high around Jerusalem. Roads have been closed there. Police have been boosted as thousands of worshippers have gathered for Friday prayers on the Al-Aqsa Temple Mount compound. We're hearing in the latest that there has been some rock throwing at the gate where non-Muslims enter the area. They, of course, are not allowed there on a Friday. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has reiterated that Israel has no intention of changing the status quo in the area and will take strong action against extremists. But interestingly, the IDF has said that the barricading and the riots in Jerusalem and the rockets from Gaza and Lebanon, they believe all to be pre-planned and to be linked.
Right, and Jody, what do you expect will happen next, particularly in the involvement now of Hamas in Lebanon?
So we know that the IDF are bolstering the forces in the south as well as the north. The most dangerous escalation is thought to be the rockets from Lebanon, which we haven't seen on that scale since 2006. Hamas having a base in Lebanon is also, it appears to be a new development. And remember that the Hamas leader visited Beirut last week. And security experts are also suggesting that Hezbollah must have consented to this. Now, in the latest, in an interesting development, the Lebanese army say that they've located several rockets prepared for launch against Israel. And UNIFIL, that's the UN peacekeeping force between Lebanon and Israel, they say that both sides don't want war, but that there is a risk of a serious escalation, and they have evacuated their peacekeeping forces there. Now, Israel's response also was formulated by the Security Cabinet, but recommended by the army. And nonetheless, protest leaders have called for protests this weekend in Tel Aviv against the government's handling of security. But opposition leader Yair Lapid and former defense minister Benny Gantz have both supported the government's response. And people are commenting on the irony that Hamas has managed to unite Gantz, Lapid and Netanyahu for the first time in 14 weeks.
Right, Jody, thank you very much for bringing us all the latest coming out of Israel.